Hello, Cleveland, and welcome to our post-game edition of the Dogland podcast. Man, this one's going to be a tough one because it was a heartbreaker, a gut punch, whatever you want to call it. The Browns had the home opener and the chance to go 2-0 for the first time since '93 in their grasp. And within the last minute and 55 seconds of the game, they blew a 2-touchdown lead and lost 31-30 to the New York Jets. I am your host, Jackson McCurry. Anthony Jokey is rolling with me. And Anthony, I know you were in the stadium today. The stadium was rocking. And just tell me, like, as we get this started, what was it like in that stadium watching what went on those final 2 minutes of the game?
Well, after Nick Chubb scored, they started playing "I Want to Rock and Roll All Night," and we're all singing along, having a grand old time. And less than I don't know 10 minutes later, in real time, it was stunned silence, and you definitely heard those boos as the Browns walked off the field after that loss. Those were some of the loudest boos I've ever heard in attendance there. And at that time, the stadium was about half full, maybe 60%, because after Chubb scored, a lot of Browns fans left. All the Jets fans that were there were gone. Um, and everybody was excited and whatnot. And it went from a party atmosphere to dead silence in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, it was wild. Like, I had a family dinner earlier today, and we were all excited when Chubb went in the end zone. And my uncle made the comment. He goes, "Oh, we got this in the bag." And me and my brother and a couple other family members looked at him, and it's like, this isn't over yet. And that little did we know that what was going to happen happened. And it's just my girlfriend texted me. She goes, "Are you cussing right now?" I said, "No, it's just that sick to my stomach feeling. Like that's what it is. I don't get like mad, like throwing stuff and cussing. It's just because I've seen it. We've seen it too many times as Browns fans. It's just that I feel like I'm gonna get sick because
Yeah,
we've seen everything possible since the team came back in '99, and some of us have seen it longer, going back to the '80s and what happened. And but it's never easy, and the pain never goes away. And it's like we can't really celebrate the victory till the clock strikes zero.
nope, no, yeah, always. The clock has to hit 000, and the referee has to say that that's the end of the game before I believe the Browns win,
Right.
because we've seen it way too often. I remember the Bears game back in 2001. Browns were up, same thing, up two touchdowns with under 2 minutes, and they gave up a touchdown, blew the onside kick, and gave up the lead, and the Bears won. So we've seen it before. It's happened. I don't know. I think I saw it hasn't happened since then.
Yeah.
Which go figure, right? So, um, it is what it is. It's just another very tough Browns loss, and they have to put it behind them very shortly, as do we, because they have another game on a short week on Thursday night against Pittsburgh, who also lost this week. So um, Thursday night is an extremely important game, and as tough as this loss is, it's got to be in the rearview mirror very quickly and move on to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you mentioned it. The last time a team overcame a 13-point deficit in the final 2 minutes of a game to win was the 2001 Bears against the Browns. So, and I think it was 2,229 games have happened in between those two instances, um, between that game and today's game. So, I mean, it's crazy. It rarely happens. I've seen the win probabilities is 99.9% when Chubb scored with a minute 55 to go. So this might be the worst loss in franchise history, and there's been some big ones in franchise history, but this one's definitely up there for sure. And it was wild. Let's go right back to that. So Nick Chubb scores with a minute 55 to go. It was the 2 minute warning hadn't happened yet. The Jets took their final timeout with 2:09 to go. Nick Chubb got outside. Um, he could have done what he did against Houston a couple years ago, and taken a knee or just stopped ahead of the goal line, the Browns wouldn't have been able to potentially, kneel all 3 times. Cade York kicks a field goal. We go up. I think it would have been 27-17, and there wouldn't have been much time for the Jets to do anything. They could have done that. And there's some Browns fans saying, and national pundits saying that Nick Chubb should have done that and they shouldn't have scored. But at the same time, it's like, who would have known the Browns go up? It was 30-17 at that point. Who would have known Cade York misses the point after, and then the Jets go back on offense and the Browns defense epically collapses. I mean, Anthony, hindsight's 2020, but if you're Nick Chubb, you still scoring the touchdown, or are you taking the knee and letting the clock wind down to give the Jets no opportunity to make an epic comeback?
Yeah, I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020, and I don't fault Nick Chubb for scoring because having a 13-point lead with a minute 55 remaining, you would think that you'd be able to put the game away. So there's a lot of people out there like blaming Nick Chubb and whatnot. I'm not going to be all for that. Granted, like you said, hindsight's 2020. That probably would be the smart thing, and we've seen it do it before. But your defense has to be able to, you know, close that game out. And what happened in those last 2 minutes, absolutely inexcusable. And you know, the offense did more than enough to win this game. You and I talked about on the pregame show. I think I said, I don't see the Jets scoring more than like 20 points in this game. And in the last 2 minutes there, they had 17. So um, what happened shouldn't have happened, and unfortunately, now you're sitting at 1-1.
Yeah, so Chubb scores, the Jets get the ball. They did a quick pass to Conklin for 9 yards, and then this has been the focus of the post game. The defense has been taking an absolute beating, as they should. They've given up 55 points in 2 games, and I seen the statistic: 62% of those points, I think it was 34 out of the 55 points, have been given up in the fourth quarter. And I think confusion, miscommunication, whatever you want to call it, has been the root of the problem in the Browns secondary. John Johnson spoke about it after the game, saying some guys are sending the calls and some of them guys are sending the calls in. Not everybody's receiving it. And you look at the little animations, Jake Trotter tweets them out when on certain plays of the games. I don't know if it's Grant Delpit. I don't know if it's Denzel Ward, whoever is miscommunicating on these plays. Like, there is something seriously wrong in the Browns secondary right now, because this has happened multiple times today, multiple times last week against Carolina. Whatever their coverage call is, not everybody's following suit. And this is a serious problem, especially when you're losing to teams like the New York Jets. Now, granted, the New York Jets knew exactly what the Browns were doing defensively. Obviously, Saleh and LaFleur coming from San Francisco, where Joe Woods spent time as well. So they knew what was coming out of this Browns defense. But there is so much talent on that side of the ball, Anthony. And the fact that there's busted coverage time after time again. I don't know if to blame Joe Woods. I don't know if it's to blame Jeff Howard, the DB's coach. I don't know if it's blaming the players on the field. I don't know if everybody should be held accountable. I think that's ultimately what it should be. Everybody can be better. But things like that, when Corey Davis is wide open by at least 10, 15 yards with no one around him, like, that is an alarming thing. And it's happened 2 weeks in a row. Last week with Robbie Anderson, this week with Corey Davis. I don't know if people should get fired. I don't know if players should get traded or cut or benched, but these things need to get cleaned up fast, because things like this and what happened at the end of the game could unravel a whole season if these mistakes don't get corrected.
Yeah, and that's something you and I talked about on the pregame show. Like, they could not afford those kinds of busted coverage because of those receivers. They gave up 300 passing yards to Joe Flacco today. Granted, he has won a Super Bowl, but Joe Flacco has just been a backup these last few years, and hasn't had that many opportunities. And he came in there today, threw for 300 yards. know, as far as whose fault it is, it's definitely everybody's. There is a communication breakdown, and those processes need to be completely reevaluated. Um, as soon as possible, because whatever they're doing is not working. Um, you read that quote from John Johnson about the calls are coming in and not everybody's receiving them. That's just hilarious from professional athletes, people who are at the highest level of football in the NFL, and something needs to change drastically and quickly. Because the team that comes in here on Thursday night, they have good receivers too, and I would argue at this point, Trubisky's probably a better quarterback than Joe Flacco. So, not by much, but still, it's just they need to clean it up. They need to clean it up very quickly, and if we see a repeat of this on Thursday, I could totally see, um, people losing jobs, whether it's players on the field or coaches. I'm not going to make a change with a short week, but when you have 10 days before the next game after Thursday, yeah, it's certainly possible.
Yeah, for sure. And Tyvis Powell, who played at Ohio State with Denzel Ward, played in the NFL, does it works for the Browns radio network. He tweeted out, he goes, "It looks like there's confusion because everybody's playing cover 3, but Denzel Ward was playing a hinge technique like he was in cover 2." So he said it was definitely a coverage bust, but it just seems like Denzel Ward was the guy that didn't get the call, which is pretty bad because he's the best corner in the and on the team, one of the best corners in the league, and he didn't get the communication, or he was playing something completely different while the rest of the team was. So whatever the issues are, if they don't get this stuff fixed, I agree with you. Things need to change. I don't know if it's firing Joe Woods. I don't know if it's firing Jeff Howard, the DB coach, but something's got to get fixed if things aren't getting better. And obviously, like you said, with Thursday night coming fast against Pittsburgh, if they would want to make a change after Thursday against Pittsburgh would be a good time, because you have, like you said, 10 days between the Pittsburgh game and Atlanta in week 4 to where you can make a change and get a new coach in there, someone within the staff, obviously, and getting those mistakes corrected.
And the problem is I think there's like one person I saw on staff who's called plays before. So, um, it would be a very tough situation if they were to move on from Joe Woods, early on in the season, because obviously you're not going to bring in anybody to replace. And, again, that sets your defense back, and you have to bring in somebody new next year and change personnel, change players. And it's just a repeat thing. So hopefully they can clean up the communication. Hopefully they can over communicate or emphasize it in practice with this weekend. Maybe that'll help, but um, it's just something that they have to figure out yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty ridiculous that the communication is still not down, because it's the third year Joe Woods has been running the defense. Most of the guys have been here at least 2 seasons. They practice every day. They're working together in the rooms every day. Like, I don't understand how there's still miscommunication breakdowns when the entire defense is the same parts and pieces as it was a year ago. So this is really bad. It falls on coaching, but it also falls on defensive leadership. And like John Johnson, like, I get him trying to speak up, but don't do that in front of the media, because then that just creates more problems. And then that leads to more questions for Stefanski and everything. And that's something they need to handle internally. We remember last year when Myles Garrett called out Joe Woods after the New England game. Now, granted, that helped, and the defense picked it up after that game. But like, I feel like those things need to be handled more internally than through the media, because the media tends to take those things and then just stir the pot even more. So hopefully this is something they clean up. I would hate for anybody to get fired, but like, if things don't get fixed, then it's obvious changes need to be made at that point.
Yeah, hopefully it gets cleaned up. You want to talk about Myles Garrett quote really quick?
Yeah, I was gonna get to that definitely because that was another thing. Myles Garrett spoke to the media after the game as well, talking about the fans walking out of the stadium disappointed, the fans booing. He said the more disappointing thing was the booing at the end. It was not the most optimal ending to have. Of course, we want to win. We get a pick or a strip sack and end the game. That's not always how it goes. Um, it's disappointing for everybody. But he more or less said that it was more or less like the fans shouldn't boo or give up on the fan or give up on the team so easily. I just want to say, I don't think Myles Garrett, I don't think anybody's giving up on the Cleveland Browns. Um, we're going to boo if there's performances like what happened today. When you give up a 2 touchdown lead in the final minutes, we have every right to boo the defense. We have every right to boo the special teams. We even have the right to boo the offense for turning the ball over when you had a chance to get into field goal range to still potentially win. That we're going to cheer our asses off when you win, and we're going to boo when there's bad plays or when you lose. That's just how professional sports is. Like I get, players wear their emotions and they care about the fans how they feel. We seen it last year when Baker Mayfield got mad about the fans booing him after he played horribly against the Detroit Lions, but that's just what fans do. They're going to cheer when good things happen and boo when bad things happen. And unfortunately, what today was a really bad thing. So of course they're going to boo the hell out of you guys because that was ridiculous what happened at the end of the game.
Yeah, I can think of a lot more words, some I can say, some I can't say, than disappointing on this podcast about
Yeah,
those last 2 minutes. So,
for sure.
um, eh, I I don't know, and I saw John Johnson's quote as well about it, and that's definitely more on the level of getting it. He talked about these fans come out to pay their hard earned money to watch this play, and we gotta close it out when we have a lead like that. So that's extremely paraphrasing what he said, but it's it's frustrating. But like I said, they have to have a short memory. We have to have a short memory and move on.
Yeah, for sure. Like John Johnson, because I was listening to the post game while I was walking after the game. John Johnson said, he goes, "We can't mope." He goes, "We have to, refocus." He goes, "We'll watch film tomorrow, and then it's all eyes on Pittsburgh," which is good. And I know last week, after the win, players walked into the facility Monday morning, and the sign said it's Jets week. So I'm sure tomorrow when the players walk in, the sign's gonna say it's Steeler week. Like they're gonna watch film tomorrow. The coaches are going to grill them on their mistakes, and then it's all preparation for Pittsburgh. So we have to move forward, and they have to move forward as well. But Anthony, I mentioned about special teams. They did not recover the onside kick. Demetric Felton had a tough time there. Punt returning again. You know, as much as Mike or Joe Woods is starting to get on the hot seat, Mike Prefer is getting on the hot seat as well. There's obviously a missed extra point. Cade York was hard on himself. He said he's going to come back and try to make the next kick. Like that's the focus. But the special team woes continue. I would have to say Prefer is on the hot seat as well. Like I'm not going to say they're going to make major changes after the Pittsburgh game, but there's definitely potential for it. And the special team miscues happening again, especially with they were so close. Amari Cooper and David Bell both could have got that ball on the onside kick, and it just didn't happen. But it's just poor execution, which I think comes back to the coaching. Um, but yeah, these miscues just can't happen in such a tight contest like what happened today, and it just seems like this is one of these losses that could really unravel things.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the hot seat, and they should be. I went looking for a stat, and this is all I could find. But in the 2020 to 2021 NFL season, there were a total of 71 onside kicks attempted during the regular season. Only 3 of those succeeded for 4.23%. I don't have the numbers from last year. I was trying to find it, but that was the success rate of the Bears getting, or the Bears, I'm thinking of 2001, of the Jets recovering that onside kick. So I didn't really see who it was uh, who the ball was kicked at. I had a tough angle from where I was sitting, but that's just, you have to recover that. I mean, that's just they changed the rules, and it's made it so difficult for the kicking teams to recover the onside kicks, and um, I, I can't think of one that I've seen that has been successful in the last few years. So of course, it happens against the Browns today, and that that just has to, you have to get that. I mean, you get that, the game's over. You take two knees, three knees, whatever it is, and the ball game's over. So um, that's something else that obviously has to be reevaluated very quickly.
It reminded me of the Patriots game in 2013 when the Patriots scored, I think, was 2 touchdowns in the final minute, and the onside kick, and it went off Fozzie Whitaker's hand, and
Oh,
the Patriots were
the Josh Gordon game where he had
yeah,
like 200 yards.
yeah. Well, one of the games he had 200 yards, but yeah, I mean, it was kicked towards Amari Cooper, and I think it deflected off his arm, and it went towards David Bell, and there was a Jets defender in between, and it seemed like the ball, he shuffled the ball over a little bit for another Jets player to pick it up. It was just bad luck. It was just a bad ending to this game, and it was, and you know what? Because we'll talk about it. It really put a damper on a Browns game where the offense finally showed up and put together a great performance, albeit the defense and special teams let them down and just put a damper on what would have been a good day.
Yeah, I thought the offense played really well. I thought Stefanski called a really great game. We talked about the defensive line for the Jets, and they certainly had some success early on, but Stefanski went to the screen game, tight end screens, running back screens, and it was very successful. And you saw Jacoby Brissett, beat the Jets a little bit with his legs on a few plays, which is definitely a facet of the game that I don't think the Browns have had, and we'll see that when Deshaun Watson comes back. But you know, it's very tough when you have an offensive performance like that. You put 30 points, you should probably win the game, and unfortunately, the defense didn't hold up their end of that. So yeah, I thought the game plan was really good. They did a lot of good things. It took a long time for them to have success running the ball, but late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, the Jets defense got tired, and they were able to wear them down and have a lot of success moving the ball. So um, it really stinks that this offensive performance just got completely wasted because of the defensive meltdowns.
Yeah, definitely. It was really disappointing. You put up 30 points and you find a way to lose, which is just bad. Jacoby Brissett, I just want to talk about him more. I think he completed 15 of his first 16 passes, and the first incomplete was the contested catch in the corner of Donovan Peoples-Jones. Donovan couldn't haul it in or keep his feet in bounds, but it was still an amazing effort by him. But Jacoby Brissett, I thought, played really well today. The interception late wasn't great. I know he was trying to make a play, trying to get him into Cade York range to try to win, but Brissett, all in all, I thought played really well. He used his mobility, which isn't the greatest, but he made it work today. 6 carries for 43 yards, only took 1 sack. And I thought the biggest thing was him and Amari Cooper got things going. We finally seen why the Browns traded for Amari Cooper. The timing, the chemistry between Brissett and Cooper was amazing today. Cooper had 9 catches on 10 targets for 101 yards, also got in the end zone for a touchdown. I just thought it was really good. Not only that, but got Njoku involved, got Brian involved in the passing game, utilizing Chubb out of the backfield as well. But I just thought Brissett looked much better this week, and I think it gave Browns fans some hope that this offense has the potential, while they're limited at what they can do, has the potential to put points on the board, not only on the ground but in the air as well.
Yeah, he played a very good game, and his only real mistake was that last one, and that's usually a throw he doesn't make
Right.
because he's very careful with the football. So he probably could have just threw that one away. Would have gave them the time to run one more play. They still had one timeout left. Um, it was amazing that they got to where they were. After his long scramble. Um, or they could have attempted that would have been like a 65-yard field goal. I think. I know the wind was coming in from that end zone, the dog pound side. It was kind of blowing in according to those flags. So I don't know if Katie York could have put enough leg on it, but it was a good performance offensively. It's just a shame that it got completely wasted based on the result.
Right, and the running game got wasted as well. Nick Chubb, especially in the fourth quarter, like him and Kareem Hunt both started off really slow. The run game, I thought the Jets contained them as long as they could, but in that fourth quarter, Chubb and Hunt both put the offense on their back and put them in a position to win. Chubb, I think, had 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, finished with 87 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kareem finished with 58 yards on 13 carries. So overall, the team rushed for 184 yards. So I mean, we know how dominant this running attack can be. And they put us in a position to win, but it just really pisses me off that it was all wasted because of how the defense played and how the ending of the game went.
Yeah, yeah, it sucks. And we talked about how the Jets held Baltimore to was it like 65 rushing yards last week or something,
Yeah, yeah,
and the Browns go in there and put up 184. They had over 400 yards of offense between running and passing, and typically that means a win. But unfortunately, um, you know, the defense couldn't hold up their end, and it really pays to have two really good running backs because the change of pace that one brings versus the other. Nick Chubb wears them down, and then Kareem Hunt, slices and dices his way through defense like he did there on that last drive. So, or that second to last drive, I should say. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
yeah, for sure. And as much as we talked about the defense, let's give credit to the New York Jets offense. I said that them Salah and company, knowing what Joe Woods was going to bring, they were able to attack it. Joe Flacco had one of his best games in a long time, like you said, throwing for over 300 yards, 4 touchdown passes. The running game was effective at times between Brees Hall, Michael Carter, and Garrett Wilson. He didn't have the greatest game last week against the Ravens, but he definitely showed out in the Buckeye State. 8 catches, 102 yards, and 2 touchdowns, albeit he took a nasty fall on his hip and was able to come back in and light a spark for the Jets offense. So we mentioned it in the pregame. The Jets have a ton of young talent. If they can get the offensive line right, and if Zach Wilson comes back and is as good as he was advertised coming out of BYU, the Jets have some potential moving forward. And what is already a stacked AFC, but the pieces are there on offense. It's just a matter of getting the rest of the fine parts around them filled in.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely have some good young pieces. You mentioned the old line there. If they figure out Zach Wilson's the guy or not, but the receivers that they have, Wilson, Corey Davis, who's on his second team,
Yeah.
Elijah Moore's another young receiver. Um, so they did a very good job, and Garrett Wilson is going to be so good. Just the way he was able to get open today, some of the catches he made. He just completely embarrassed Emerson in the end zone there, right in front of me, for his one touchdown. You know, he's going to be good. So it seems like the Jets got that draft pick right. Hopefully, they can build up the rest of the offense, and they do have a decent defense, but they probably need a couple more pieces. But some of this young talents that the Jets have, um, they're going to be good as long as they figure out the quarterback thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's the most important part. Zach Wilson will be back in a couple weeks, so we'll be interested to see what he can do with this array of talent surrounding him. Because Joe Flacco did a nice job today. but that's why the Jets keep him around. He's a solid veteran who's had great success in this league, and was able to own the Browns defense once again. I think he's 18-3 now in his career against the Cleveland Browns. So much like Big Ben owned the Browns, Joe Flacco continues to own them as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's another time he's won in Cleveland, which he did a lot with Baltimore. So, um, you know, it just sucks.
Yeah, it
there's
really
no other way
does.
to there's no other way to put it.
It really does suck, man. Let's touch on the AFC North teams real quick before we get on out of here. Man, Anthony, I know
At
you.
least the Browns didn't have the worst day, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. So Pittsburgh lost to New England. That was a stinker of a game. Not going to waste too much time on that. We'll talk more about Pittsburgh later this week, obviously, as we preview them as they're the Browns' next upcoming opponent. But Anthony, you didn't get to see it because you were at the stadium. But oh my God, the ending to Miami versus Baltimore was insane. Baltimore or Miami was down 35-14 entering the fourth quarter, and Tua Tagovailoa and that Dolphins offense came roaring back, outscoring Baltimore 28-3 in the fourth quarter. Unbelievable comeback victory, 42-38. Baltimore's 1-1, obviously the same record as the Browns, and that was albeit with Lamar Jackson having an elite performance with over 300 yards passing and over 100 yards rushing and 4 total touchdowns.
Yeah, I was kind of following along because I saw it was 28-7 at halftime. And like, all that game's probably over. And then I opened the scores on my phone because I was checking the score of the Pittsburgh game, and I saw that it was 28-21. I'm like, oh, they're coming back. And then next thing I know, I saw a notification that the Tua hit a 60-yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill to tie the game. I'm like, okay. And then I checked on the walk back and saw that they actually did come back and win. So yeah, I mean, kudos to Miami for not bowing out, being down 3 touchdowns there, and um, I guess it's all. It's hard to say things are all right, but after this week, all or after week 2, all of the AFC North teams could be 1-1, or the Bengals could be 0-2. So at least there's that going for us at the moment.
Yeah, like it's not completely lost with what's going on in the AFC North, but yeah, that Miami offense is so fun to watch between the way Tua's off to a great start, which could silence some of the whole Lamar Jackson to Miami talk that's been, building up because of Lamar's failed contract negotiations with the Ravens. But what Tua's doing right now, he's got 7 touchdowns in the first 2 games, and the speed they have on that offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at wide receiver is unbelievable. Not to mention they have Mostert and Edmonds in the backfield. So a ton of speed on that Miami Dolphins offense. It's going to be fun to watch them throughout the season.
Yeah, it is. Tyreek Hill is just a different kind of player, and if Tua can stay on the same pace that he's at right now, Miami definitely has a good shot at making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, for sure. And as we're recording, the Cincinnati Dallas game is still ongoing. Dallas is up 17-9, which is maybe a shock to a lot of people because with Dak Prescott obviously being out, you would think the Cowboys offense would kind of falter, but Cooper Rush is playing well, and that Dallas defense is getting after Burrow. I made the comment to Anthony. He's already been sacked, I think 12 times. I think it's 13 times now in the first 2 games Joe Burrow has. So he's on pace to get sacked over 100 times this season. So as much as the Bengals have put into building up that offensive line to protect Burrow, he's still taking a beating. This Cincinnati team is off to a rough start, and it could be a Super Bowl hangover for the Bengals, even though they didn't win the Super Bowl. But it's always tough to get back, and the Bengals are off to a very rough start, but it's still early on in the season.
Yeah, and I was just looking at their schedule here. Next week they go to New York to take on the Jets. They have Miami at home and then Baltimore on the road. So not an easy start to the season for the defending AFC champion. So hopefully, well, I guess not hopefully. They gotta get together very quickly because they can find themselves in a big hole very early on.
Yeah, for sure. And the Browns play the Bengals on Halloween. Obviously, they got Pittsburgh coming up, and I don't think they see Cincinnati until after the Bengals matchup. I'd have to look at the schedule again, but the AFC North, it's having a rough start, which still could bode well for the Browns if the Bengals don't get on track, if the Ravens stay up and down, depending on how their defense performs. And obviously, Pittsburgh's not off to the best start either. So this AFC North race could be tight as it is early on in the season.
Yeah, yeah, that's why you have to capitalize. And the Browns definitely failed to do that today. They could have capitalized and sat the top first place, but unfortunately, they're now tied with everybody else.
Yep, it's really unfortunate. But they just cannot let today hit them too hard. They can't mope. They have to get back to work. It's a short week. Pittsburgh, as bad as they are offensively right now, they're still bringing it defensively. And Thursday night's going to be a big game. I would call it a must win at this point. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you go in Thursday, you win that game on Thursday night, the whole narrative of this whole week completely changes and flips 180. So, and all I will say at the moment is thank God Katie York got that field goal last week.
Yeah. If he didn't, it would be a bad time to be a Browns fan right now. And I don't even know. Like the takes would be outrageous, but they might be necessary at this point. But we are 1-1. Hopefully, they put this one behind us, and Thursday it's going to be a big game. We will be back later this week to talk about it, to get you guys ready for Browns versus Steelers, and then obviously the game's Thursday, and hopefully we'll have a post game Thursday night. If not, it'll probably be sometime over the weekend. So with that in mind, you guys can follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony Jokey. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack McCurry08, and follow the Dogland at the Dogland on Twitter as well as Facebook. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform if you haven't already. And with that in mind, until next time, Browns fans, hang in there. We've been through much worse, although I don't know if today could get much worse. But with that in mind, as always, go Browns.